Katherine.
I'm not sure
Katherine?
about the spelling.
One is a succulent succubus, granting every man's desire.
I'll see you later.
One is a faithful girlfriend going steady. One is a mystery representing endless possibilities. A trinity, a tryst.
Vincent.
Battling his angels and demons, our mere mortal everyman is caught in a quadrangle as these vixens play to his heartstrings like Cupid. But Vincent doesn't accept his love to be stupid.
Damn it. I'm just confusing myself.
Katherine, Full Body is a classic puzzle-solving game brewed from Titan developer Atlas, and what is another one of their definitive edition director's cuts, an enhanced version for one of the most innovative and alluring games of the 2010s that solidifies the towering artistic talent and unparalleled vision of gaming's Big Three. Simply irresistible are the sights and sounds of seduction, specifically the resonating sounds of Shoji Meguro, the greatest composer known to video games, who literally sets the tone and pitch perfectly for all occasions.
I found this piano, so I just started playing it.
You alright?
The sights made possible by the astonishing art style of Shigenori Sojima, whose every brushstroke yields illumination, and the brilliant, bold, and daring director/producer Katsura Hashino, who molds together a marriage of satire and sincerity in a way that penetrates deep beneath any surface level frivolity, straight to the heart of what matters most between human beings. How we accept out of respect one another's autonomy as the authors of our own choices, and come together to celebrate individuality and freedom. These three geniuses were the dream team at the helm of Atlas's greatest triumphs, a studio that has reached the summit of video game excellence, in fact, storytelling in general, in recent times. And Katherine Full Body is yet another representation of the passion and devotion they have for their respective art forms. Their mastery and craftsmanship combine seamlessly together in concert, a whole greater than the sum of its magnificent parts, lending its power in emotionally evocative ways.
You made me happy. I got to hear your true feelings. It means the world to me.
Hey, listen to me.
These are very important works, despite being anime erotica. Beyond the cutesy cartoon aesthetic, there are serious and mature themes here, which is true of all of Atlas's games.
Falling apart. Hearing a love confession is pretty damn powerful. Now, may I please have another drink?
Like Vincent, tucked in tightly between Katherine's tantalizing titties, a message sprouts and blooms about love, sexuality, and free will.
Same-sex couples are pretty common these days.
I love you, Vincent. I've known since the day we met. Can I stay here if I don't get my memory back?
You're free to do whatever you want, man.
I I like all the customers, and I like being able to make everyone happy by playing the piano.
It's a story-driven
see what's
morality
sitting
play
right in
as
front of you?
fascinating as nearly
that
any other
supposed to mean?
interactive movie.
Idiot! I'm going home.
Whoa. What is there that needs to be said about Katherine? She's the reason everyone buys the game. The mystique of her sex appeal is undeniable, captured perfectly in the promotional shot of her eating a slice of pizza as the melted cheese stretches over her breast. She's icy hot. Her risque design is a masterpiece of marketing, and at times it's surprising how the game avoids censorship with some of the photo shoots she does. A feature that sees her send Vincent sexts with inexplicable poses, revealing nearly everything. That is the secret. There is still an air of mystery behind her and a level of intrigue that goes beyond her bodacious looks. It's the unbound look in her eye that she gives Vincent, her coy nature, and the no strings attached thrill of the chase, the seduction of forbidden fruit that traps the men she claims as victims.
Okay.
ありがとう。優しいんだ。
Katherine steals the spotlight in every scene she's in, not just with her buxom assets, those big tits busting out that draw us in like the center of gravity, but because she's the focal point of Vincent's test of character, and indeed the rest of the stray sheep that have wandered away from their responsibility and confronting their true selves. Katherine is the ultimate extracurricular activity, an escape from reality culminating in a cinematic nightmare sequence in which the women scorned take their anger out on each other, which is both completely textbook and insanely stylish in horrific fashion.
You're the one in the way! What the hell is your problem?
Get out of here, you old hag!
Get out of the way!
I'll kill you too!
Kill you
The way Katherine talks during this scene, her potty
Under my
mouth,
body,
the descriptions,
night after
her
night.
condescending tone to the other Katherine
Now
is
take a
brilliant,
hint and
sexy,
get out of
and
here. He
terrifying.
worked me hard, and now he's got me. Simple as that. Plus, I'm sure you have no idea of this even, but this one's a wild man in the sack.
In the end, she isn't even real, just a metaphor, a trick of perspective designed to lure away those who have strayed from their priorities so that they can face their punishment. She continues to reappear in Vincent's nightmares and in some of the funniest moments in the game, popping up unexpectedly to cause trouble whenever Vincent is trying to make things right with a significant other. She attaches herself to Vincent's life like a leech, a true succubus, even entangling other men, like Steve, in what is one of the greatest plot twists of the game.
I know a girl named
A chilling hint she gave out when she said she was going to see the dentist. The accidental reveal of her name as Katherine is absolutely comical, but there are serious moments too, in which the love quadrangle she partakes in becomes a compelling drama. Little details like the sound of her naughty laugh when you open her texts, or the 12 ideal voices that customize her even further, only add to the fun. In English, Laura Bailey gave an amazing performance in conveying the delicate, appetizing zest of the homewrecker.
Last night was amazing.
away from me!
Why are you here?
Hey, have you ever cheated on anyone, Vincent?
Katherine Fullbody gives us clues throughout the game as to what is really going on, and it foreshadows something grim is in store if we do not make the right decisions. But the game sets things up intelligently by letting the player guide their way and make their own decisions based on preference of what they feel is right. The eponymous title of the game, being Katherine and her many homonyms, is genius. Katherine McBride, appropriately named, is Vincent's longtime lover, his high school sweetheart that he only managed to hook up with by the accident of fate. Katherine is no slouch herself. While 10 years older than the 22-year-old competitor, Katherine is a successful fashion designer, a button-down professional who only has eyes for Vincent. And like the stereotype of most women that the game overtly discusses, she desires to get married and have children. McBride being an intentional reference to this fact. A cheerleader in her day, Katherine is an attractive woman in her own right, tall and slender, smart and caring, picking up after Vincent and always checking in, taking stock of his condition.
Well,
I'm sorry. I'll call you later.
It's not so much that Katherine can't compete with her looks, but perhaps the fact that she is too good to Vincent and that she just became too predictable over the years. It takes Vincent being caught in a landslide to realize you can't have too much of a good thing. When she confuses herself and Vincent with the false pregnancy, she complicates matters further, sending Vincent's moral compass into overdrive, and like other characters mentioned, there is a common trope of desperation in women who wish to be married to fake their pregnancy. Katherine is an honest person, however, pragmatic and cerebral, usually calm and polite. She's able to be forgiving and even understanding of Vincent's cheating, confirming that the worst is mostly in his head. Still, nonetheless, Vincent and his friends consider the very thought of cheating to be as damning as the real thing. But Vincent continues to value Katherine through it all, which shows her worth and the importance of loyalty and the responsibility we have to our partners.
Let's move on and enjoy our own lives. But you'd better not regret it when I become a better woman in the future.
like that thing. What is that thing?
Vincent,
Ren.
I'll be waiting for you.
The third kind is Ren, a pure and innocent person who meets Vincent by complete chance and becomes, in many ways, his guardian angel. In contrast to Katherine, it's not the physical form that flatters, nor is it, as the tagline suggests, the terror of commitment that surrounds life with Katherine, but the openness, the acceptance, and the wonder of curiosity that Ren brings with him that opens up a new perspective for Vincent. Ren doesn't set any rules for Vincent, encouraging him to live free and choose for himself. That, combined with the sense of gratitude Ren has for Vincent and the good feeling that gives him, makes Vincent feel in some way indebted to Ren, even more so than he feels for his current girlfriend of many years. On top of that, as Ren and Vincent grow their bond together, so does the ability of Ren's magical piano playing, which, like the beautiful music that plays, gives everyone hope and helps us in battle with the blocks. It's an emotional scene when Vincent finds out the truth about Ren, initially shunning him, sending Ren into self-imposed exile. Vincent rightfully feels horrible, as do we, the player, which is amplified when the music "On the Lamb" between male and female, which could also be a song for Erica, begins to play. The message here is that we should accept our friends, no matter what they look like, so long as they make us feel a certain way on the inside. Vincent is the only one who believes in Ren, save for Erica, who knows something about feeling alien, and Ren gains a great deal of confidence because Vincent gives him the time of day in return for nothing at all. Ren's design is another incredible aesthetic from Sojima. The pink hair helps Ren to stand out as a sort of cross-section between blue and red, the colors that make the karmic meter in the game. Ren's voice actress, Brianna Knickerbocker, did an outstanding job conveying the sweetness and overall childlike creation that seems to grasp the meaning of true love better than the women in Vincent's life. And despite ending up being an alien from outer space, which does throw the other arcs askew, Ren's message still comes across as impactful because of the warm way they made us feel, like the music. Video game messages are often transparent, spelled out for us in cold blood, or an expositional dialogue on screen, like instruction manuals. But great writers have a way of keeping us guessing, even when we think we know the direction the plot is headed, and even still, when we arrive where we ought to, at some amazing reveal, we can't help but reflect on the events that got us there instead. Katherine's messages are sometimes hard-hitting, like a sledgehammer, or as subtle as pulling us closer and whispering in our ear something naughty, welcoming us into a world of sex, drugs, and what we're all interested in: lots of sheep. Katherine Full Body is a full-throated horror game, sprinkled with moments of intentional comedy that take shape through intoxicating imagery, surreal symbolism overflowing from Vincent's waking nightmares. Katherine centers somewhere in a near-future setting where space tourism is commonplace. Fusion of Japan and USA cultures is prevalent, alternating between pizza places and seafood stores, and our conflicted protagonist fights for love and life while tripping on dizzying day sequences and seedy nighttime encounters with troubled souls and strange bedfellows. Vincent Brooks, at age 32, is an average nobody at a dead-end job, described by his friends as a loser and by himself as poor, unattractive, and undesirable. He begins his story after experiencing a wet dream for the first time in as long as he can remember, awakening to a situation in town where men are suddenly dying in their sleep after being outed as philandering cheaters. Vincent and his world-weary friends, childhood classmates Johnny, Orlando, and newcomer Toby, are spooked to see their mutual friend Paul being one of the first reported victims of the rumored nightmare curse.
What exactly is this
Vincent gets the foreboding feeling that he will be the next man to appear on the nightly news report, but little does he know that he is in steep competition with a large herd for the next spot. Gathering at the bar are patrons of various backgrounds and identities, such as Justin the journalist with a chip on his shoulder, the fortune-telling twin grandmothers that munch on everlasting pizza, mouthing off bizarre riddles and peculiar turns of phrase. Erica, the upbeat, carefree, and colorful waitress who knew the boys since their school days and aims to please. And the enigmatic, womanizing, blustering, sharp-dressed man who serves as the bartender and proprietor of the aptly named Stray Sheep, Thomas Mutton, known informally as Boss. He's a riot, generously giving us relationship advice through platitudes, always from anonymous quotations to which Vincent is cynical of, delivered in fashionable alliterations such as, to pilfer the ponderings from a certain someone. Boss speaks to us while wearing a smirk, stuck permanently on his face like the ridiculous sunglasses he wears indoors at night.
If I may ask,
Speaking of glasses, he does briefly break character and becomes hysteric should you find his special pervert glasses, which will turn everyone naked, spending the rest of the nights searching for the precious item he misplaced. Thomas is a hilariously absurd character that masquerades as a sophisticated man of good taste while secretly orchestrating a devious plot against mankind.
special lenses can only be worn by the chosen few. They allow the wearer to observe other people's true nature. However, they may be say they won't appear for just anybody. The one who managed to snatch them up must have a libido beyond even my own. You're cheating yourself, and yet you're this concerned about your lover's fidelity.
The symbolism of the stray sheep is clear in and of itself. The men are lost souls, straying from the way and toiling desperately to find a way out of their circumstances. The location itself is a cozy spot for a hub area in a video game if I've ever seen one, with a strong parallel being the iconic Café LeBlanc from Persona 5, a game which shares several amazing voice actors, including Michelle Ruff as Kawakami/Katherine, Sean Chiplock as Mishima/Astaroth, and the uncanny voice work of the narrator, Jameson Price, who also plays Sojiro, who not coincidentally is also referred to as Boss in that game by the Phantom Thieves that make a guest appearance in Full Body. Like the cafe, the stray sheep transports us to another time and place. It's a comforting, familiar setting, at least from the interior. It's a modest, old-fashioned establishment with booths and a jukebox that plays soulful tunes from the in-game universe. A rundown bathroom, fit for one, where Vincent can sneak a peek at his steamy sex messages from Katherine, complete with Ren's prodigious piano playing that boosts morale, and Erica's hard-working, bustling catering. We never see much of the exterior of the building, perhaps because, like the dreams themselves, it is meant to exist in isolation of the world around it, a healing place for the disturbed. Vincent drinks night after night, almost to the point of blacking out, and in doing so, the narrator breaks the fourth wall to inform us of interesting tidbits about the beverages and Japanese culture. The eclectic jukebox music provides a layer of atmosphere to accompany the colorful characters that frequent the bar. Never any outsiders, simply the associates of Vincent that all share the same nightmares or connections to them. It's a closed loop. It's awesome to just sit back and listen to the great music from Meguro-san and the iconic soundtracks of the Persona games, as well as some incredible original soundtracks in Katherine, while having conversations with the patrons and trying to solve their problems for them. The characters of Katherine all have something to fret about regarding the nightmare, which grows in notoriety as the days grow long into the 9 or 10-day cycle. In addition to worrying about what fate awaits them, they also lament their hopes and dreams. There's Johnny, being a loner looking for love, cynical of those around him and disappointed in Vincent's own lack of loyalty to his girlfriend, hypocritical considering that he too lusts for Katherine, admitting in the nightmare that he is guilty of betrayal of his best friend. He's like an adult Yusuke, with a refined taste for sake and automobiles, who is high on his personal moral standard, practicing what he preaches, and yet still unfulfilled in his search for meaning in love. Orlando is similar to Ryuji, as an easygoing, often sarcastic thrill-seeker who is seen as gullible but is nonetheless supportive of Vincent in his toughest of times, delivering one of the best lines in the game to him at his meltdown.
It's missing too!
The fuck, man? You never got to see it.
He once had a wife, but lost her through his own incompetence, being left by her in his time of need. That leaves the young gun, Toby, a bachelor and employee of Johnny's who is naive and inexperienced, looking to lose his V-card with a sweetheart, Erica, to the amusement of the other guys. Over the course of the game, the guys become more open-minded, especially depending on which route Vincent takes in choosing his love interest. There's Erica herself, who feels the most comfortable in her own skin, doing her best to cheer up the rest of the crowd and being a mentor to the newcomer Ren. She's very outspoken and demonstrative with the boys, always being honest with them, and encouraging if not critical, even referring to herself as a mother figure to Vincent. A gossip girl, she spreads the rumor about the nightmare as it grows in strength, later figuring herself to be the witch, though of course it is really Boss that is just using her to this effect, as she is said to be an attraction for bringing men to the stray sheep. The game tacitly confirms Erica to be a transsexual through hints and flashback scenes. There's a veiled reference to her disappearance when everyone that knew her thought she was dead, and the humorous reactions that Orlando has when finding out that Toby has indeed lost his V-card to Erica, and Toby's own admission that, even though it was his first time, something felt off. There are some jokes that made at Erica's expense, but overall, it's a great representation of minority, considering that Erica is one of the most likable characters in the game with one of the biggest parts to play and a big personality to match. Erica doesn't look for sympathy and doesn't look back on her past, accepting who she wants to be as her free self. This is a message driven home to Vincent by Erica and Ren, whose own identity crisis is a parallel to Erica's. Together, they help to change Vincent's perspective on his life and his interests, and even Toby, upon finding out about Erica's past, seems to be accepting of her. The secondary characters all have interesting dilemmas in both human form and their sheep counterparts. There's Archie, who is coerced into incest with his mother, scarring him for life and sending him to a downward spiral of using and abusing women, saying that mothers and sons are the same as men and women, and that he is disgusted by them. There's his boss, Todd, who was treated poorly and beaten by his father, never feeling like he was worth anything thereafter. Morgan, the police officer, failed to save his wife, allowing her killer to escape onto the streets, and he hopes for the day he can find him and for the day that he will die and all the terrible things in the world will cease to exist. Abul and Roderick both found personal success in life, but never had friends that valued them for who they are, being taken advantage of because their kindness was seen as a weakness. Justin did his duty as a journalist, but ended up endangering a girl and her family, unable to forgive himself for the way things played out. There's Daniel, who inherited a fortune from his adoptive family, but always felt inadequate, never having earned anything for himself in life. He has a caring girlfriend, but doesn't feel that he's worthy of her, despite her continued sacrifice to be worthy of him. He's one of the few characters that looks up to Vincent, even envying him, although it is important to point out that during the nightmares, Vincent becomes the man of legend, inspiring all of the sheep to keep climbing. These characters have internal struggles that they try to hide by drinking or carrying on affairs with women, and the real physical struggle manifests in the recurring nightmares where they are anonymous sheep, all indiscriminate cheaters in some form or fashion, forced to climb for their lives up a hazardous wall of blocks. Katherine is a game about sexuality and romance, but the main course of fucking going on is the mindfuck puzzle solving that serves as addicting brain teaser and the progression of the story. The puzzles start off simple enough, as a variation of Tetris in which by moving blocks to create a staircase going up, you can beat the race against the clock and forge a path to victory. But these are hard puzzles that only grow in complexity with more variations of blocks and the outside interference of bosses and even rival sheep that cause mischief during your ascent. In fact, I remember spending at least an hour trying to get past the very first puzzle of the game on normal mode. It's okay, I got the platinum. You'll need to pay attention to the hints the game gives you, use memorization skills, and be capable of recognizing distinct patterns in order to solve these Rubik's Cube-like puzzles and get the gold awards for the high scores. There are some incredible sequences in which the game teaches you new climbing techniques by breaking the fourth wall in the creative way that the sheep share techniques with each other and you, the player. Just as the sheep react in awe to the new techniques, so do you, the player, as you marvel at the thought put into the mechanic, which quickly becomes a legitimately rewarding experience due to the effort required through analysis and dexterity and the rush of clearing each of the 9 or 10 stages, each with their own unique obstacles, courtesy of bosses and special blocks, such as trap blocks, ice blocks, cracked blocks, bomb blocks, and shape-shifting blocks. By drinking at the bar at night, Vincent will gain a speed advantage, which will be necessary in getting gold in the harder stages and speeding past the crumbling blocks. Ren will even play the piano on certain nights to slow down the rate of collapse, and there is a merchant that you can buy upgrades from, such as jumping up 2 blocks or artificially creating a platform to work with. The Babel stages are the toughest challenges in this game, using randomized blocks and somewhat prearranged patterns. Intuition and determination are needed for solving these. In full body, you have difficulty selections and even remix mode, which gives you interchangeable parts to move that give you a completely new set of solutions to each puzzle. There's even a mini-game within the game called Rapunzel, which is accessible with the straight sheep, and it has its own neat little story going on that reveals lore about the game, its themes, and its characters. This game has important details that fills the gaps in the main plot and reinforces things we know, such as the witch behind the plot and the man duped by appearances. With no timer during this mode, it enables you to sit and plan your method of approach, which you'll need. With 128 unique stages just in Rapunzel alone, with leaderboard tracking and versus modes, there is abundant replay value to the puzzle modes, making Katherine one of the best designed and most savvy puzzle games ever made. Katherine is a game about perception versus reality. In the nightmares, the sheep answer confessionals that reveal their true feelings, setting Vincent up on a path toward law or chaos, or the new possibility, being Ren. Vincent is haunted by his fears, such as the fear of becoming a father, which manifests itself as a chainsaw-wielding baby that screams for daddy, and the humorous wordplay with Vincent replying back that he is certainly not the father. Both Katherines make various appearances and taunt Vincent about knowing his secret. Each stage has its own theme, sort of like the 9 circles of hell, with the cathedral being the top, paradise, symbolizing freedom or matrimony if Vincent chooses. No one remembers their nightmare, of course, when they wake, but slowly the picture comes together and the sheep start to recognize each other as patrons of the bar. They decide to work together to survive, as the herd begins to thin and their chances decrease. First cynical of each other, they develop a brotherhood through their common struggle. All of them are in some ways connected to Katherine, who was sent from the underworld to seduce men that are wasting the time of fertile women. She appears differently to each man according to his ideal woman, appearing slightly Japanese to Vincent and black to Steve, who was one of the last survivors and the first sheep to trade techniques and encouragement to Vincent. Steve sends threatening calls to Vincent upon finding out that Katherine is double-crossing him, only to go insane when he realizes that his Katherine isn't the same. In the end, he realizes the curse has taken hold of both of them, and the chilling reveal that one of our compatriots was Steve DeLome, the dentist that Katherine mentions, is just a great twist of fate, as he calls it. Details like this are what keeps Katherine full body interesting and compelling. Some of the scariest moments happen in the real world through various audio and visual cues that keep us guessing what is real or not, as our awareness becomes heightened. The fear of hell hath no fury is real. The mesmerizing music of My Girl's Sign is all throughout Katherine, from the dark stage battle music to the sounds of impending trouble and impending victory. The melancholy pieces that fill the vacuum of silence, and the stray sheep following Vincent's difficult decisions. Electric Beethoven and Wagner remixes, and of course, the brilliant, beautiful Obelisk, which I first heard while playing Persona 5 Royal, using Vincent's DLC costume, and I correctly interpreted it to be a love song about fighting for love and fidelity. This is one of my favorite soundtracks in a video game, and it fits perfectly with the theme of Katherine, its prophetic piano notes making my imagination run wild with images of love.
I was number 1, right?
Trisha, also known as Ishtar, is one of the many references to Greek mythology throughout the game that reinforces the themes of fate and the wiggle room of choice. With fantastic voice work from Aaron Fitzgerald, also the voice of Erica, she has a comically sensual tone, giving off a groovy 1970s vibe. The goddess of fertility acts as our host for the Golden Show, narrating for us what the developers have to say and recapping the key moments in the story for us in a mock TV show setup, adding to the quirky quality of the whole thing. Joker, the virtuous hero from P5 who returns to face the music and take the challenge of conquering Babel for Ishtar's approval. Atlas has given us some of the greatest games of all time. With the Persona series, the inclusion of Joker in the Phantom Thieves is a great way of making a bridge to the extended universe. Playing as Joker is not only stylish, but I feel like he moves much faster than the other characters, perhaps owing to his exploits as the trickster. The voice cast returns, offering some funny one-liners as their collective reaction to Joker, featuring in the world where men that cheat get their comeuppance is surprise and disbelief. The ladies caution him against any funny business. Mentioned in the art book is that Joker has the same trouble of potentially falling into love affairs and harems as Vincent, saying that he will be involved with up to 10 members of the opposite sex at the same time. Our hero. Katherine is very much a comedy, as much as it is a horror, with elements of body horror and existential dread, balanced with moments of slapstick and dark humor, such as the many instances of Vincent's mouth left agape by the predicament he finds himself in, or the many exclamations of "what the fuck." Vincent's maturity and defiance in the face of death grows throughout the game, and in almost every variation of the game's 13 different endings, he finds himself as a better version of the man he started as. Troy Baker does a fantastic job as Vincent in humanizing a character that toes the thin line, skirting around the gray area of morality that many men would have to agree they would mimic if found in his shoes. Katherine Full Body is a 9 out of 10. A great game. Astonishing, extravagant, and exceptional. Katherine Full Body, like the Persona games, is a testament to the enduring originality of video games and the synthesis of sight, sound, and script, delectable like a slice of pizza. Katherine Full Body has aged like a fine wine.
They're calling it life.